Hello, my name is Reginaldo. I'm from Brazil, and it's a great pleasure to have this opportunity to share some of my knowledge, some of the information related to Chinese medicine with all of you. And the topic I'm going to talk about today is about the Kanli method. And we are going to talk about the importance of earth, the importance of the concept of center when directly applied to Chinese medicine based on this method on balancing Kan and Li. I hope you can enjoy the presentation, and I hope you can get a little bit of more information on the importance of the center and how we can apply this concept to the daily practice of Chinese medicine. First, I'd like to start with a quote from Kongzi, from Confucius, where he says that reviewing the old and learning the new can become a teacher. So he mentions and describes to us the basic quality when we really want to become a teacher. But we can see this character Shi related not just to teacher, but also to any kind of professional or practitioner. So bringing this quote to Chinese medicine, we can say that in order to become a good Chinese medical practitioner, a good acupuncturist, and so on, we need to learn how to balance the old information and the new information. And old in the Asian way of thinking, the traditional way of thinking, not as in most part of the Western countries when we say something is old, most of the times we are saying that this thing is outdated. It's not in a good way. Most of the time when say something is old, it's in a bad way. But when we think about Chinese medicine, the old information is the information from the classical books, the traditional books from ancient time. And we need to go back to our roots, to think and rethink about this information. And we also need to balance this with the new, the modern, the research, the information that comes to us in a daily basis. So balancing old and new is also the motto of my institution, tradition and modernity. We need to learn how to balance these two. We need to go back to our classical information in order to improve our practice for the modern complaints of the patient. So balancing old and new, as in balancing yin and yang, is really important to Chinese medicine. And Kanli method integrates the classical principles of Chinese medicine into daily clinical application, because our patients are what some people say the modern patient with modern problems. But us, as Chinese medicine practitioners, we need to look at these modern problems using the traditional lenses, as I normally say. We need to look at it based on our understanding and knowledge of classical information. So a deep understanding on these basic principles is extremely useful in order to improve the therapeutic effects of Chinese medicine, independently of which branch of Chinese medicine you are practicing. So, to start with, there is another quote that is very common in Chinese medicine, but also in Chinese culture. Heaven and humanity united as one, 见人合一. This means that the heaven here we can understand as the nature, as the environment, is totally united with us. So the environment can influence ourselves, but also ourselves can influence back the environment, because we are united as one. So probably our Chinese ancestors, they had more of this kind of unit with heaven, and they could elaborate some theories based on observations and feeling and perceptions. Nowadays, a lot of people are more into technology. They are not into nature per se. They are not looking on how the influence of nature can reflect in our body. But we can also use this same quote in another way in order to see that the whole of our body is directly united to its different parts. This principle is used, for example, for the practice of holograms or microsystems of acupuncture, where a small part becomes the humanity and the whole body becomes heaven. We need to understand how these two are united. But what I want you to imply here is that we need to look at everything based on this concept of unity. We need to look at everything using the Chinese medicine idea, the Chinese medicine understanding. So, for example, here is a picture of the Milky Way. You can find this picture on internet. If you look at it, basically it's the Milky Way representation, but as Chinese medicine practitioners, we can look at it using our special lenses, and then we can see a little bit of the spiraling movement of the yin and the yang represented by the Tai Chi. So we need to go back to this unity with heaven and try to look at everything using the yin-yang perspective as the most basic fundamental principle of Chinese medicine. So yin and yang, as I mentioned, is a fundamental principle and possibly the most important theory that permeates, and it's all over the other theories. We must have a good understanding of yin and yang as the first stone where we build our building. So it's the earliest and most important reference. When we talk about the other theories, Zhangfu theories, Jinluo theories, we are all talking about how yin and yang are represented on these other theories as well. So here we have the simplified and traditional character, but also the most basic representation on lines. And we have the broken line for yin and the straight direct line for yang. The straight line of yang is always trying to expand, is trying to go outwards, and then it can become a yin line. The yin line, on the opposite, is always on contraction, going inwards, and then it becomes yang. They are always exchanging and growing and going forward and going backward. They are cycling and they are turning into each other, because this is what yin and yang do. They are going on cycles. As yin and yang can be understood also from the I Ching, we can go from the basic straight lines in grouping of 3 for the Bagua, in grouping of 6 for the 64 hexagrams. We can go growing the understanding on how yin and yang can balance and influence each other. So the most representative way to see this is from the two important trigrams of Kan representing water and Li representing fire. And we can see here on the left the trigram of water, Kan. It has a yang line in the middle, in the center. For the Li, the fire, we have the water line, we have the yin line in the middle, in the center. So once again, in order to understand the full possibility and the full strength of the trigram, we go and look in the center. So the importance of the center is also implied and demonstrated here on the trigrams. So going for the Lei Jing, we have some important information on the use of Kan and Li. Thus, in heaven, sun and moon are water and fire. In the I Ching, Kan and Li are water and fire. In medicine, heart and kidney are water and fire. And in alchemy, essence and qi are water and fire. And it goes on and says, now the kidney is water and the generation of qi inside water is precisely through fire. The heart is fire and the generation of fluids, blood, inside fire is precisely through water. The mutual storage of water and fire within each other, this is where the utmost Tao is located, and this is what any physician should first examine attentively. So we can see that this important text, it refers as the utmost Tao as being the understanding and how to balance water and fire. And it says that all those practitioners that want to be really good, they must understand and how to apply it. So here is another way just to look. We have the trigram of Kan, and we can have a more memory idea when we look at it sideways and we see the kidney and the fire in the middle of it represented by the Ming Men. We can also look at the heart and the trigram of Li. Looking at it sideways, we have the heart itself, but also we have blood inside, represented by the yin line. So, in order to have a functional heart, we must have the yin. In order to have a functional kidney, we must have yang. And we need to understand how to balance this. On the left, we have the traditional representation of yin and yang. On Tai Chi, we have the yang on top and yin below. But we need always to remember this is a picture. They are always movement. And we, as Chinese medicine practitioners, we need to understand how to rotate this Tai Chi. This is what we do. This is what we must do. So here in the center, we have the idea of bringing the yang below the water. Because if we just have fire on top, it will go up, 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 and the water will go down, down, and they're going to be away of each other. No, we need to understand how to rotate it. And in order to rotate it, we need to remember about the center as a pivot to helping rotation. And this way we have the fire below helping to boil the water. And when we have the fire and the water in this position, we have the creation of qi. We have the creation of vapor. We have the movement. We have the transformation of qi in our body. We also need to remember that the 5-movement theory, Wuxing theory, is very important, and we can't look at the theory as a separate one from the yin and yang. They are together. We need to look at them as one related directly to the other. So here on the left we have the Tai Chi representation, then in the center we have the Tai Chi related to the Kanli trigrams, and here we have the combination of yin and yang principles together with the 5-movement principles. We have the representations of each of the 5 movements in equal balance, in equal proportions with the yin and yang representation. We have the wood where the yang is going up and outwards. We have fire where it's the utmost yang. Then the yang is a little bit going inwards, then the yin starts to appear. Then we have metal. When the yang is totally starved and the yin is on the outside appearing, then we have the water. And what is in the center? The center is earth. The center is where there's movement of going up for the spleen, going down for the stomach, and helping us to see the rotation and the movements. So here are the 2 most used representations of the 5-movement theory. On the left, we can see there is a perfect balance, a perfect proportions of yin and yang associated with the Tai Chi symbol. On the right, we use this representation a lot for example, going for the Nanjing association of the mother point and the sun point in order to think about the generating cycle, the controlling cycle, but there is no perfect balance on proportions of yin and yang. So the classical representation, as we can see in the first chapters of So-Wen, when talk about the north, south, east, west directions and the center representing earth, the most classical representation we can see on the left. Here is just another way to look, and the balance of going into more yang or going to more yin, we see that the center is the pivot helping on this exchange. We see once again the movements on the Wuxing theory. We see the wood going outwards, fire going upwards, metal going inwards, and water going downwards, and the rotation helping these to move through the year, through the month, through the days is related to earth. Another important principle that we use in Kanli method is the so-called San Cai, or the 3 power or the 3 potence related to Tian, Ren, Di, or heaven, human, and earth. These 3 basic principles are also seen using the lenses of yin and yang. We need to understand how we can apply this concept clinically using the lenses of yin and yang. We can look at it as Tian, heaven, representing the utmost yang. Earth representing the utmost yin. Earth here is D, is not 2 as in the Wuxing theory. And in the center, we have Ren, we have the human, we have the persons, we have those that need to understand how to balance yin and yang. Because if we remember from the basic theory, we cannot see something that is totally yin or totally yang. We need to look at it in perspective and understanding the yang qualities and the yin qualities, and us as human beings, we need to understand how to balance this. And when we talk about Chinese medicine, us as professionals, we need to help the patient to understand and help them how to guide the principles of yin and yang to become into balance. We can use the same principles in order to understand what is more superficial, what is more into a deep level. So another way, we have Tian Ren Di, from left to right. And below we have the so-called Sanbao, or the 3 treasures. And we can associate them with levels, qualities of yin and yang as well. Then we have Shen related to Tian, the utmost yang. So when we talk about, for example, needling related to Shen problems, we can go on superficial level, superficial located points. When you go for earth, the deeper layer, we have Jing, we have essence. So in order to achieve this, we need to go for deeper stimuli. But in most of the times, we go to the muscle layer, we go to the mid-level, we go for the Qi level. We need to balance the Qi in order to help it to circulate with a free flow on the channels. And this is related to Ren. So Tian, Ren, Di can also be seen in the 3 treasures as Shan, Qi, Jing. And we can also see it as the utmost yang related to fire, Li concept. The utmost yin related to water, related to Kan concept. And in the center, once again, we have earth, balancing the utmost yang and the utmost yin. Here is just another way to look at it through the understanding of levels. And then we have Tian, Ren, Di as well. We have the skin layer, we have vessels, then we have muscles, then we have tendons, and lastly, we have the bones. So we need to understand if we are going for more a yang stimuli or more for a yin stimuli. The basis of the treatment on Kanli method is simplified in 3 characters: Ping, Tong, He. Because our goal in Chinese medicine most of times is explained as we need to regain the balance for the patient. We need to go back and find the balance. But what kind of balance? We need to find the balance, including in the idea of free flow. Qi must have a free flow. Blood must have a free flow. Shen must have a free flow. But all this, the balance and the free flow, must also go together with harmony. We need to have the free flow not in a slow way, not in a fast way, but in a harmonical way. The balance cannot be on top or below. It must be in the center, in a harmonical way. And when we look at this Ping, Tong, He, we need to balance yin and yang, and we do it by getting and restoring the harmony using the principles of establishing free flow of qi through the channels, of free flow of shen in the whole body. So we need to go from balance to free flow and finally get harmony together. And balancing yin and yang, understanding the importance of it, is one of the main goals of Kanli method. And for example, here in 1967, we need to understand the exchanges of yin and yang, represented here as yin disease move to yang, yang disease move to yin. Then we have some also important quotes: yang disease treat yin, yin disease treat yang. So we need to understand how to move yin from yang, yang from yin. We need to understand that in order to achieve this goal of gaining balance of yin and yang, through moving it, through stimulating different parts of the body or using different kinds of herbs, is basically through rotating the Tai Chi, rotating the yin and yang symbol and the pivot is really important for helping us on doing this. So in order to achieve the goal of balancing yin and yang, it's really important to consider the center as a pivot and allowing the free flow of going up and going down of qi. So we need to remember what is the center in the body. When we talk about 5 movement theory, the center is earth. When we talk about Zhang Fu, center is spleen and stomach. When we talk about the whole body, we can look at the abdominal area as a representation of the center. So here are some quotes used to reinforce the importance of the earth. Earth is the center of the 5 movements. Earth engenders the tens of thousands of things. Earth is the mother of all things. The heart, liver, lungs, and kidneys are like her 4 children. If the child is vacuous, one can rely on the generosity of the mother's qi. So here is the importance and understanding of earth as the center and earth as the mother of the others. In different passages of Huan Tin 18, we can also see that the yang ming, the stomach, the spleen are so-called the one that have the influence to donate the qi and blood to others, Zhang Fu. Each of the Zhang Fu receives the inheritance from the spleen and the stomach. Here are some other quotes. Spleen governs center earth. Spleen is the root of central qi. Stomach is the central pivot for ascending and descending of yin and yang. And we can see that stomach and spleen, they work really well together. The middle burner, where the spleen and stomach are located, the center governs transformation, and it's really important for Chinese medicine. The constructive qi exits from the middle burner. The defensive exits from the middle burner. So we see that the importance of the center is also related to how defensive qi and constructive qi are produced, are generated, and exits in order to protect and nourish our body. So we need to look at the earth as the center, influence the others. There's another way we look at earth in the center, but also how it influences and can help all the others. So in order to treat, in short, for most part of the treatments, it's very important to consider the situation of the center represented by spleen and stomach, but also as the abdominal, and also about navel. So, for example, when we try treating patients using acupuncture, it is suggested to select some acupoints on the upper and lower parts of the body, but also in the center. We cannot forget about the importance and the power of moving qi and the qi transformation from the center of the body. We can look at the abdominal area using the Tai Chi representation in the center, but also we can look at it using the whooshing representations in the center. We can look at it and see how it expands and it gets bigger and bigger, influencing different parts of the body. So in order to achieve the treatment results, I'm going to give some possible suggestions. For example, Qi Liao, the navel therapy, which is a general term for different kind of stimulation on the navel region. Basically, one of the most used is the combination of herbs and moxibustion. So we select some special herbs, we fill the navel area with these herbs, then we apply a special moxa technique in order to warm the navel area through the Shenqie acupoint, conception version 8. We warm the navel, we warm the herbs, and we promote a really important effect. Navel area is directly related with kidney as well, but also with the whooshing representation, it's related to earth. So it can balance earth and water, and we do it is in a warm way. We are going to improve the health quality of our patient. We can also use acupuncture, so using the same rationale, the same principles of selecting acupoints with stimulating the center, we can select, for example, Zhongwen and Guanyuan. These 2 acupoints are located in the abdominal area, one on top of the navel, one below, on top representing fire, Zhongwen, and below representing water, Guanyuan. But we can guide this in order to stimulate the center of the patient on yin and yang. Then we can go for acupoints on the upper parts of the body and the lower parts. For example, Shou San Li and Zhu San Li, these two are really important acupoints in order to reinforce earth of the patient. They both have earth quality when we talk about the wuxing theory. Of course, Chu Chi is the acupoint straightly associated with the He quality, the earth quality, but Shou San Li shares the same name as Zhu San Li. So it's a really good and important combination. In order to achieve a balance of yin and yang, we can also go for Nei Guan and San Yin Jiao. This way, we can balance the yin and yang on earth and improve the quality of our treatment. Another way that we use here in the Kanli method is to looking at the forearm region in the same way as our ancestors did. In Huangdi, for example, this area was associated with the so-called Qi Zhen, the diagnosis looking at this area of the body. But we can also have the same associations and use it for representation of the 5-movement theory. So here is a representation based on the Huangdi descriptions, but we can also look at it through the lenses of wuxing theory. Then we have the fire acupoints more closer to the hands. We have the water points closer to the elbows, and we have the earth points, and also, of course, metal and wood in the center area. So when we look at the center, we are going to influence the center of the body. We are going to influence the earth qualities in order to better help and better influence our patients. So we can also use these principles and ideas for the herbal therapy. We call it Kanli, Chinese herbal therapy, using the same principles but applying it in a more specific way. So this method of approach balances the principles of Kanli method and the foundations of Chinese medicine, and we go back to the most important formulas, the most important classical books, in order to see the formulas that can help our patients and how it can be used. So to complement the clinical effects of what we establish as the 30 main formulas, of course there are many others. We can go from 200 formulas to 100 formulas to 50 formulas. Here I'm mentioning 30 main formulas. And as a major differentiator of the Kanli method, we also establish what we call the minor formulas with simple few ingredients, mostly based on traditional classical formulas. So each of these 20 minor formulas, they were established and designed in order to have the substances balancing the patient and guiding, for example, a larger formula. So we can combine two formulas in order to better stimulate our patients. So one of these minor formulas is related to the Shanghai. If you go to Shanghai formulas, the Jingfang formulas, we see that many of these formulas have some ingredients that help to warm the center or balance the center. And we look at those formulas and we see a repetition of some of these ingredients. So we put those together in order to help to cultivate the center. That's what we call the Pei Tu Xiao Fang. So we have 3 main ingredients here. Then we can add to other formulas or to help our patients. Here in Brazil, we have a lot of patients with some digestive problems, and we have a diet that is more related to cold, more related to humidity, so we can help them. So Dazao, Gancao, and Shenjiang. This combination is presented in different formulas in Shanghai. So it's concluded that Kanli method can be used for different conditions based on classical principles of Chinese medicine, going back to the roots for solving modern problems. I hope I could express in this short 30-minute time how we can and we need to go back to our roots, to think all the time about yin and yang, and to think about the center. Different traditions of Chinese medicine use the same idea, the same principles. We are just putting it in a concise and synthesized way. So I really appreciate all the help. I really appreciated all the influence from our ancestors, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Thank you very much.